Okay, let's get into the war here. The Great War. What a great war, right? World War I. Here we have the Triple Alliance. Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. Now let's focus on Italy for a minute, okay? This war starts. Italy is bound, in this alliance to come to the aid of Germany and Austria-Hungary if they are attacked. However, Italy determines that these guys are the aggressors, and so they're not going to join in this conflict. And in fact, eventually, they will change sides. They will join the Triple Entente. Russia, Great Britain, and France. Now Italy is on their side. So this causes a whole new problem for these Central Powers, because not only are they fighting on the Western Front, not only are they fighting on the Eastern Front, they're now fighting on the Southern Front. Test question, right? Now, moving along, we have this incident, the USS, or not the USS, but the Lusitania. This is a passenger liner. It's actually a warship, but it's disguised as a passenger liner. Thousands of people on it, going back and forth between the United States and Great Britain. Now, what's going on is the United States is filling this ship up with weapons, gunpowder, bullets, whatnot, sending it secretly over to Great Britain. The former captain of the Lusitania, Captain Daniel Dow, basically has a nervous breakdown, has to resign. He can't handle the stress because he knows what it's carrying, and he knows that this ship is traveling through U-boat or, submarine infested waters, and he knows eventually the Germans are going to attack it. And that's what's happened. The Germans, the Germans actually take advertisements out in the U.S. papers warning travelers, do not travel in these U-boat infested waters. We are at war with Great Britain. I mean, it's common sense, right? The interesting thing here is that this comes from the German embassy, not from the United States State Department. You'd think that the United States government would warn the United States citizens, don't travel in the war zone. It's common sense, right? There's a war going on. Of course, the people on the Lusitania don't know the ship is carrying weapons, but that's what's going on. The Germans know it. Everyone knows it, except for the passengers, the people. They don't know anything, but they're the ones blamed for the war. Anyway, this ship is sunk by a German U-boat, Unterwasser boat, and this causes a great deal of outrage in the United States. 1,100 people are killed. I think about 120 Americans are killed. And so the U.S. is getting closer to war. Now, Germany at that point says, we will stop with our unrestricted submarine warfare. Now, what do we mean by unrestricted submarine warfare? Well, it's very simple. If you're Germany, you're basically saying any ship that is carrying supplies to the Allies, or to Great Britain in this case, is subject to be attacked. All right? It's just common sense. Even if the ship doesn't have guns on it, like mounted guns on the deck and stuff like that, the Lusitania did not have any weapons on it like that. But it could be, the ship was designed that these weapons could be inserted whatever. So the Germans attack, they sink the Lusitania, then they promise we will stop with the unrestricted submarine warfare, at least for a time, but they will go back to it. Now, changing gears, just talking about some of these great advancements in warfare. We have the German Zeppelins, these great big blimp type things that are going to be launched and float over Great Britain, dropping bombs and whatnot. This is obviously not a war photo, but I just wanted you to see what a Zeppelin looks like. And what else do we have here? Okay, Russia. As we noted in the previous video, Russia is not very effective. In fact, they're getting decimated by the Germans, and the people of Russia have had enough. They want to be out of this war. The Czar Nicholas II, he'll remain in it for a while, but eventually there's going to be too much opposition, and Tsar Nicholas is going to abdicate. He's going to say, okay, I'm done. He's being kicked out, you might say. And this gives rise to the whole Bolshevik revolution. Now, there's a lot more going on here than just a nitwit leader making bad decisions, but he will be ousted. He'll ultimately be imprisoned, and his whole family, his wife and children, will all be executed by these monsters called the Bolsheviks, but we'll talk about them a little bit later. So Russia is out of the war. They signed the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, whereby they give this land to Germany, and this land goes to Austria-Hungary. And let's see. So what does that mean? So they're out of the war. This war is basically over at this point. Germany has won this war. We're mid-1917, and it looks like it's over. Great Britain and France have been bled white. The only way Germany can now lose this war is if the United States gets involved. And lo and behold, the United States gets involved, and this is really going to change everything. Now, changing gears, I want you to know what Total War is. I couldn't find a picture. Here's a video game, I guess, called Total War. Total War is this policy. We used to have wars back in the old days where the soldiers would go to the battlefield and they'd fight it out, and the civilians would be like, well, whatever, go back to work. But when World War I gets underway, we start to see total war. The civilians are now really being targeted. They're being bombed. And so the governments have to basically take over the economies and have everyone on a war footing, meaning business. The whole economy now is going to be designed to continue the war effort. Like if you're a blacksmith, let's say, well, instead of building, shovels and rakes or something like that, you're now going to be building bayonets and guns and stuff like that. And so this whole war concept now becomes a total war. The economies, the entire civilian populations are basically now part of the war. Now, that will end that section of World War I. I wanted to take a look at something just to point this out to you. This is not testable. This is a sculpture from a guy named Francesco Queirolo, probably from Italy or somewhere around there, right? This is in some chapel, some church. This is one piece of marble. They carved it. Just take a look at this. This is the date, 1752-ish, right? This is what they tell us. Shows a fisherman being released from a net by an angel, called the release from deception, il disinganno, carved from a single piece of marble. Hold on. The net is carved. It's from the same piece of marble. How on earth can you carve a net? This is unbelievable if you asked me. I mean, marble is an extremely hard stone, or whatever it is. I guess it's a stone. One wrong little whack with the hammer and chisel and the whole thing crumbles, right? No way. There's no way this was just carved by some guy, Francisco, with a hammer and chisel. This technology is simply lost, in my opinion. I would challenge you to find anyone on the planet that could make something like this, much less back in 1750. Absolutely astonishing, this kind of this skill, the technology or skill that was used in creating this complete masterpiece. In my opinion, that is just gone. We can't do that, but just my opinion, just thought I'd throw it out there. So that'll conclude Chapter 20, Section 2, Part 2.